There is another patch that just got released a couple hours ago for 3.14 PTU M. This is also a Wave 2 patch, so both the first wave and second wave are welcome. They still have the same rule where you get 15 million starting AUEC. Reminder that if you have an issue with your account when you log in, to be sure that you delete your user folder from your PTU folder, which can be found if you don't have the default one by going here, having your loader open, and whether it says live or PTU doesn't really matter. It looks like this. You would hit settings, and then you can find it right here. So C drive, RSI, etc. And this is the way it will look when you are doing your thing. So it'll look like this. Reminder that you'll be able to go to Star Citizen, Live, and PTU. Don't mess with this. This is where you copy from when you're making your PTU account. I'll include in the card the guide on how to make yourself a PTU copy before you start installing the actual PTU content. And this would be where you would delete. I am not going to delete this folder, but this is what I would delete if I was having an issue. So that's all I got for that part. Let's dive right into the patch. Now, in 3.14M, you will see something very interesting. Same kind of testing focuses, the ping the scan mechanics to 0, V2 surrender, Orison landing zone focus with Crusader, Constellation Taurus, all the usuals, power management V2 with capacitors. That's actually what we're testing, is the capacitor tie-ins and the power triangle. And the known issue list, though, is much shorter. So we still have some major known issues. There is missiles that don't follow flares. Translation flares don't work. Shields that are getting hit multiple times on a single distortion explosion. Ships that are not fully repaired after repairing and refueling in the vehicle management system. So that's when you land and you open up your Moby glass and you go to fix it. And I believe this is a new one. The Banu Defender Power Triangle does not change. And of course, the infamous now Demon Fang combat knife asset is missing from the game. This has been something that is carried over from, 5 patches ago. I don't even know what this is. It doesn't even care. But now I really want to pick one of these up. It's probably a subscriber item. I really want to get the Demon Fang combat knife. It's like a meme at this point to me. Not a good meme, but a meme. So at this point, though, the feature updates, interestingly. They updated the assisted gimbal tracking speed and slightly increased its snapping. Slightly lowered damage and increased ammo for ballistic repeaters and Gatlings. Polish passed on damage values for Vanguard-specific weapons. Buffed the health of the Vanguard Harbinger, which is the torpedo one. Removed ammo-low ship computer lines playing for energy weapons. That must have been really annoying, because that's how they work. They clip low, and then you wait for the magazine to reload, and then it clips again, over and over and over again. That would be mighty irritating. Removed overheat from ship thrusters. I've seen that issue myself on multiple ships. I am glad to see that gone. There were situations where I'd only use like 25% of the new, what they call boost. So, whereas they now have this system where you can properly use it without having it to kick it to overheat and shut you off at the wrong time. So there is some interesting discussion about the power generation system for the energy weapons. So CIG on another location explained that there was a weapon capacitor tie-in with the energy weapons that have 4 parameters. There's regen requested. It's the max regen per second the weapon could ever request. There's cooldown time, ammo load request, that hit the maximum amount of ammo the weapon could ever request through the value is not bullets, just an arbitrary number because it's energy, and the cost of a single bullet, which in the case of energy. It's the amount of capacitor it uses and how much it would cost to send it. Other things have to consider the addition of ballistics and things like that, like how much the actual physical ammunition takes up in space and used. But these do not have to worry about that when you're talking about energy weapons. So 1, 3, and 4 are using the same unit. So regen requested, ammo load request, and cost of a single bullet all use the same stats, just fiddle with them slightly different. And when you adjust your capacitor, 1 and 4 can be very high. So regen and the cost of a single bullet can be very high. But if you have a lot of capacitor fed through, they suddenly can perform immensely better. So in particular, energy weapons enjoy an incredible amount of extra power distribution. And this information is relevant as of yesterday, per Yogi-CIG. So that is a pretty interesting kind of nuance to this, that there is this pool of energy that when you give, instead of being the 33, 33, 33 we are used to on a power triangle, you instead say give 50% of the vehicle's energy to the energy weapons. Suddenly you can have an immense of extra draw that is put on the regeneration to add to that magazine faster. And then each round is fired can queue up more, can consume energy without it running out as quickly. So the cost to fire will not clip you out of your energy cost. And then there won't be a delay in the regeneration of the energy weapon. Because what happens is, let's say you fire six shots out of an energy weapon, right? What happens is you have to now wait until there's enough energy in the pool for that regen requested to do the next one and do the next one. And like energy good at capacitor, the higher up in the energy the capacitor is, the faster that regeneration happens. So you don't have to wait that limitation between it. So translation, I know this is complicated, but you don't, giving power helps the energy weapons immensely on the back end. It helps their DPS over time. The longer the fight lasts, the more and more it will be noticeable, because you may not instantly do more damage, but you'll get more rounds out faster over those reloads, because those reloads will happen correctly, like as fast as it is possible that it's balanced for, and they will load up in a way that will allow the next reload to happen, and the next reload to happen, and the next reload to happen. So you will never properly clip out, other than that's a much shorter wait for that reload to happen. So it's an interesting concept. And remember, because they're energy weapons, you simply will not run out of ammunition. So you may run out of time because if you're putting more power into ammunition and weapons, you will have to consider the fact that you are taking away power from either shields or propulsion or both. You're splitting the difference. So you're basically in a race against time, because the shields aren't recharging as fast and they're not able to shrug off as much damage, and propulsion is not able to keep up with the enemy or run away from the enemy. So bear that in mind too. You know, you won't have as much boost, or you won't have as much recharge rate on those shields. So do bear that in mind. You will make sacrifices, but on an energy classed ship, it will become very, very relevant very quickly why you want to put more power into the weapons. And power plants are obviously going to be very important. Once the balancing is replaced and the modules are back to normal, you know, you're going to want good power plants. You're not going to want to be sitting on a civilian D-class power plant trying to do all this fun power management stuff. Nothing's going to run right. Just some food for thought. Legibility polish pass for new sliced ship HUDs. This is important. Being able to see what you're actually doing with the HUD in front of you is critical to gameplay. And also, it is something that I've been talking about for a while, that the HUDs are very complex, and making them difficult to understand what you're looking at, whether it be hostiles, you know, friend or foe, so non-targeted hostiles, UI markers, the edge of cockpit views, and targeted hostiles. That's important. Being able to know what your target is, what your primary, your secondary are, is critical. Being able to know what's shooting at you is also critical. Just putting this into perspective. It's not always about PvP or PvE where you're the attacker. Just remember that. So having the information in front of you that you actually understand at any given moment is very valuable. And you have to be able to do that at a glance, not just in the best of conditions. So that's some thoughts I have on that. From what I'm hearing through the rumor mill on testing is we are seeing a damage removal of a few points from both the repeater systems, with the ballistics and the lasers taking a small hit and the distortions taking a reasonable hit on their damage per shot. I would say that if you think about it, energy weapons are probably performing beyond what they're expected to perform at because of what I just explained earlier with the capacitor changes. So if we're seeing a buff, the considerable buff in the reload speed on the capacitor's back end, where you can shoot out the whole clip that's intended and you're regenning it almost nearly instantly because you're putting all that power into weaponry, it's overperforming, and there's no ammo requirement either. So just some thoughts. And also apparently there's a small buff to the ballistics ammunition counts, but it's not really enough to be worth talking about. Once again, those are very informal. I'm hearing them anecdotal from one source. These are not secrets or anything. These are literally what people are seeing in the game. But I am hearing it only from one source, so that's why I'm being very careful with that. These are major. I'd like to thank Hars for that, by the way. Hars on the SC Lake server was my source for that information. It's not secrets, but it is stuff that he's seeing in the game. Major bug fixes. Fixed an issue causing players to desync inside the Taurus and Aquila variants. And this may be solved, but there may be other locations that have issues. Please keep an eye out. This is something that they're chasing down considerably. I'm going to show you 3 links after this from Baior-CIG, and you will understand why it's so critical that we have these desyncs sorted and why they're still chasing these dragons down. However, they seem to be slaying some of the desync issues. This is one of the most critical. Tauruses are going to be used considerably. It's the brand new ship on the block for 3.14. Going to be very exciting. A lot of people have these sitting in their hangars. I don't have one right now. But if you watched my previous video, but I can tell you that I am very excited for the Taurus, and I'll probably be picking one up as a CCO. Particularly because of its ability to haul 2 Aquilas at the same time in a small format. Quantum traveling to a party member close to a planet's surface should no longer sometimes cause the player to fly into the planet. Sometimes killing you. No big deal. Fixed an issue causing an FPS or ROC-sized mining deposits to have much shorter scanning distances than intended. This was something that was plaguing multiple other patches, I believe all the way from before K. At least before K, which is like last 2 patches ago. Lock ping control, and that's a big boon to all miners out there and folks trying to do some interesting things, actually playing on the planets, and anybody who's in vehicles. That's how they make their money, is dropping off their ROCs, getting their mining operations on, and getting out there. Lock ping controls to scan mode settings should now correctly persist. Surface mining deposits should now be aligned distance markers when approached. Security ships should now recognize illegal goods on board a ship while being carried by a player. I was not aware they weren't doing that. I do know they were still yelling at you for moving when they were trying to scan you, even if you're in a ship that you cannot possibly stop in time. Ask me how I know. Players should now be able to equip med or oxygen pens on Lamont undersuits. That's good. Anytime we have more usability for folks is a positive. Cardio steel helmets should no longer create a source of light when equipped. Any Battlestar Galactica fans will be slayed by that. Battlestar Galactica 04 used to have those lights in the helmet so they could see the character, the actors and actresses' reactions to what was happening in front of them because of those fracking Cylons causing trouble again. Love that show. Fixed an issue that was causing players to get a crime stat for attacking legal AI targets. That's a good one. Smoke effects around Orison should no longer flicker or flash. I believe that's probably, if I was to guess, that was probably CloudTech messing around with you. The stairs on the Orison walkway gantry next to the cooling towers on Providence platform should no longer kill players when walked over slowly. That's always good. XXL hangars in Orison should no longer have visible ceiling collisions when the doors are open. That was a issue that was plaguing Orison for multiple patches now. You're hearing a theme here. I keep using the words multiple patches, and they finally fixed it. This is a sign that we're getting close and close and closer to 3.14 live. Fixed an issue causing AI to not move around the G-Lock bar in Area 18 and CallTo shop in Orison. Actually, in a recent video, I went over the G-Lock bar to see if they had the bartender they said had back, and I found the same issue. All the AI was just standing in the middle of the room, and I believe the bartender was standing in the middle of the room too. Fixed an issue causing the radar to not be visible on the Enville Carrack flight hood. Good. Nova tank should no longer be equipable on a Hurricane. Nova tank turret was able to be put on a Hurricane? Oh my god, I missed out. That would have been epic. Especially on the PTU. You can't get in too much trouble, I guess, for flying around and shooting org mates with that. That would have been fun. See, I miss out all the good fun. Thematic space effects, like contrails and space loop rocks and debris in gas clouds, should no longer be missing. Fixed an issue causing ship AI and sentry turret AI weapon at VFX to not be visible during combat. Mineral deposit, terminal, and prison I think that says should now correctly show projected time to release. Can you imagine how much that would suck? Sitting in the prison. I was in that prison a few shoots away from Mishima, and I had a crime stat for some reason, and we had to shoot in the middle of Lorville. So I ran over there in full Konstantin Hurston gear, and I got in just fine, and we got our shots. Getting out, they shot me. It was amazing. The AI seemed to be like acting like they were firing like a second after I ran past. It was great. All the way to Konstantin Hurston's office. And it was an armistice zone, so I couldn't do anything nefarious or anything with it, but it was just... I had a crime stat, too, for something I didn't even do. I think I crashed my C2 Herc, leaving Grim Hex into a rock, and it gave me, like, this 8,000 credit thing, and I'm like, I'm not paying that. So, I mean, if I didn't do anything bad, I'm not paying it. So, yeah, I paid for it with time. We did the shoot. We did the whole thing in the office, and once I left and I walked down the stairs, ran down the stairs, just out of nowhere, 2 AI just snapped to me and just tack, 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 tack. And I had no armor on. I was done. It's like instantly. It's laying on the ground. It was entertaining to say the least. And I ended up at the prison. And I did not bother mining rocks or trying to escape or anything. I literally just went to editing videos that I was working on before we started the shoot. And, that was all I did. And then I think it was a half hour, 45 minutes later or whatever, I paused all my YouTube videos and my editing of my own videos, and I was no longer in prison. That was the excitement of my night. I think I might have alt-tabbed twice to make sure I didn't go AFK too long to get thrown out of prison by logging out and then not getting credit for it. This was on the live server, by the way, if anybody's shaking their head going, why would you do that for the PTU? Well, we weren't on the PTU. I was on live. Players should no longer be able to enter other players' vehicles using the external elevator on the Starlifter. Okay, well, other players are jerks. And another important section that is rather light on this one. Fixed 2 clients crashes and fixed 1 server crash. However, before you get your pitchforks out or your, I don't know, I guess we have, I was going to make a joke. Before you get your Demon Fang combat knife assets that are missing from the game out, this is rather light because they're actually listed here. Major bug fixes. So that's how it is. If they're listed here, and they're spelled out and well defined, you're not going to see a gigantic technical section on these patches. So that's how it is. And I think the avocados are very strong right now. The Evos are very strong on this symbol, on this patch. So I guess they're trying to show that they helped out on this. They're like the silent service, although a lot of them say they can't tell you anything, but they always brag about being in it. Not that I listen to them, but they do what they do. So if they did something about this, great. If not, okay. The PTU folks, that's who I care about, my PTU gang. We have 3 missions, should you choose to accept them. And I got them straight from here. The number 1 comment on these. That's why I always suggest going onto the web, onto the page where this actually is viewable, and then go straight to the comments if you have an issue or you want to report something. And what you also find is other people already did things. This fella, Rabbit Crabs, always has something to post. And these links do not disappoint this time around. I like checking and getting an idea of what other people have to say. And most importantly, all 3 of these are from Baior. So he has 3 requests of us today, which were posted about the same time as PTU 3.14 And the number 1 is Desync Hunt for stationary unresponsive player ships. We have broken down several of the sync issues into individual problems and would like help hunting some of those specific issues down. For this spread, we are specifically looking for QR code tagged video, which is you would hit the tilde key and then type in r_display sessions info _1. It literally says exactly what to say there. And I'll include all these links below so you get an idea what you're dealing with. But they're looking for video of stationary unresponsive player ships when they believe they are moving and or completely different locations. So if you're with a workmate and you happen to see something like this, please be sure to report it and be sure to have that r_display session info 1 visible, so they can get the information, telling them everything about your individual account. I don't think it has anything super secret on there or anything, and this is optional. There is no, if you choose that you're not interested in this, you don't have to. And as a reminder, you can always file with the Incident Council, and you can file a report with them, and you can do it the old-fashioned way. Here's the second of Baior's requests. Remember, these are just requests. Desync Hunt, invisible weapons fire. So this second one, they're looking for information on ship weapons fire from other players or AI that is invisible. So you're taking the damage or you're experiencing impacts on your shields, etc., and it's invisible. You can't actually see it. And Baior's requesting the same deal. He would like you to put r_display session info 1 tagged videos up. As a reminder, you don't have to record your entire play session to do this type of thing. You can pop this up with instant replay if you're using any of the NVIDIA series of cards. And you can also wait to record this until it happens and then hit your record button and set that up. So just remember that. And once again, these are optional. If your computer's already on the edge case, other than I wouldn't try this. You could also add to your page file, 2 or 3 gigs worth of video with a storage space to help with your video rendering as you're recording. But once again, if you're on the edge, I wouldn't recommend this. The third desync request is on-foot party member desync, and this is invisible or teleporting party members when on foot, in or outside of ship. Remember, party members they don't have to be in your org, but usually they are. But they would be in your party, they would be on foot, in or outside of your ship. So that means you'll see their beacon in one place possibly, and they're in another, or you'll see both in one place, but they're reporting over comms that they are somewhere there that you don't see them. And they are not in trouble. This is not that type of deal. These desyncs are not their fault at all. So don't blame the player. No one is blaming the players. This is purely a server issue where 2 different computers, yours and theirs, are communicating across that server, and the server is not registering it correctly. There's no games. There's no... do not assume somebody's doing something nefarious here. So just remember that. The only nefarious thing was that people jumping into somebody else's M2 and C2 Hercules through the elevator without being given permission. That was pretty nefarious. That's literally using an exploit. But the rest of this is purely just desyncs. So I'm not saying there's no risk of issues. There's always going to be in the unfriendly skies of a PTU during alpha. But it is the PTU. We're all here to learn from this. We're all here to be miserable together so we can be happy in the 3.14 live. And I know I gave my dream idea of the 3.14 live being tomorrow, Thursday of this week. But the way we're seeing things, with the way they're still hunting down these, but the way there has been changes in the last couple patches, 3.14 live may be a little further off. As I said throughout this entire thing, I had moderate hype. It was, if everything goes perfectly, ... Thursday may be potential. It seemed like, honestly, I think that they were using that as a goal, at the very least. Shoot for this Thursday, and if it don't work out and it ends up Friday or it ends up next week, so be it. You know, at least that's giving them a goal, something to grind towards. This patch right here reads like a patch that's getting ready for live. 3.14M is looking very good. Although I have said that about 2 patches ago, but I'm seeing more issues that have popped up, and I think they're being honest with themselves about how big this desync issue is. If you need any proof, you can see 3 separate CIG requests for desync information for them to hunt down. And the last patch, they had a speculative upgrade to the desync issues, and this appears to be the result, where they fixed an issue causing desyncs in the Taurus and the Aquila variants of the constellation. And they still think there may be some other issues that can be caused in those ships, clearly. So, yes, I don't think the live is going to be tomorrow. I do think, I'm not going to lie, when I heard server maintenance was today, I got very excited about the idea of them getting prepped for tomorrow. I think that I still stand by what I say. I think they were shooting for tomorrow, and we'll never know. That's the rough part about these, unless we get one of those post-mortem posts like we had today that was brutally honest a little bit about 3.13 and jump week. And it actually literally spells it out and says, we thought we had 3.14 and then the desyncs hit. You know, unless we get something in writing or on video of one of the devs acknowledging that, even in the littlest way, I'll never be vindicated. And I'm okay with that. You know, I try to bring the best information possible, and I try to be honest when I'm speculating and when the cold hard facts stop, where the circumstantial stuff starts, and where the speculation and analysis and everything else that comes with it from every level is brought in last. And I'm being honest with you now. Like I said, I'm going to suggest that at the earliest we'll see a 3.14 live on Friday. Although in my heart, I don't think they'll do it Friday. I think they've learned their lesson on other gigs. I think that it's overly optimistic to think that they'll have these 3 different separate major desyncs where on foot, in a ship, players unresponsive ships, invisible weapons. So people are hitting you with invisible weapons. Once again, they're not doing it on purpose. It's just literally just desyncs. But, you know, damage that's being taken, ships not moving, players moving around on foot that don't realize they are, or they think they're somewhere else. It's just too much. I just, in my heart, I don't think it's going to be Friday. I think they could fix it by Friday, and then they'll still roll it out early next week at earliest. And Eric, you know, your window of next Thursday is looking pretty good, because that would be my next goal would be suggesting mid next week would be perfect. Wednesday, Thursday would be a good time to shoot for. We haven't seen this week in Star Citizen. We won't until next Monday. But I think that that's a fair estimate. They want to give themselves a little wiggle room at the beginning of the week to clean it up and get it hammered out and ship it out, and then have at least some time before the weekend to be able to really nail any hot fixes that are necessary if they're needed. They have had experiences in the past where they released major patches on a Friday, and they've regretted it every single time. What ends up happening is they release it on a Friday. If they need to have a hot fix, suddenly now they need hundreds and hundreds of employees on overtime coming in on their Saturdays and Sundays. And oh, by the way, it's the middle of the holiday season. So there's probably people in other countries, people that are, or whatever is safe to do so. I'm not advocating for anything that isn't, depending on where you are in the world. But people just taking time off from work and taking their holidays one way or another, and they are not able to be a part of this process to get a major patch thrown out the door. The middle of the week is the time they're most solid. They have all their teams ready to go as best they can. That would make sense. If it's not this Thursday, i.e. literally within hours from now, it'll be next week, unfortunately. And I mean, don't get me wrong. They may surprise all of us, and 9 p.m. tomorrow, Pacific Standard Time, they roll out a patch. I've also seen that, but I sincerely doubt it. With the 3 major desyncs on the table, I don't think they could confidently say within the 24-hour period we've gotten every single desync, or we got enough evidence to, and then hunted them down, fixed them, and then tested the fixes through all of their QC people, even if they have all hands on deck to quality control this. I just don't see it. So that's me deflating a little bit of the hype balloon. I think it's, once again, as I said in a previous video, it's my obligation if I build hype to also counter that hype whenever it is important to. And it's not my job to balance out or something. I think I suggested karma, and somebody called me on that. They're like, you don't have to be negative just to be negative to balance out. And they're right. But it is an obligation here. If I build hype, if I sense that the hype is not going to work out, I can't bury my head in the sand and just pretend and hope for the best. And yeah, that's all I got for everyone tonight. Please, 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 if you haven't already, feedback is always welcome on these videos. If you're shy, don't hesitate to reach out to me on Discord. I'm always available, shockingly available. You'd be surprised. Gladly will talk your ear off about many things and get a lot of ideas that way for future videos, and get a lot of great feedback that I wouldn't otherwise get. Apparently people are too nice in public. You all have a wonderful night and be safe.